All right, Ian, we got voicemails.
Oh boy, we do. Let's do some of those.
Go to anchor.fm/the CU podcast. Don't be too excited, Ian, over that. And you can leave us a voicemail. Try to keep it short and sweet. 15, 20 seconds. Get in, you get out. You get on with your life, just like us. This first one's from Michael. Mike from New Jersey, it says. Well, a lot of Jersey guys. I like it.
Hey, Pat and Ian. It's Michael from New Jersey. Do you think open world mechanics get shoehorned into some games that should be just simple fun? A couple of examples I can think of are Burnout Paradise and the later SSX games. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
So there's open world in a snowboarding game?
Yeah, Steep does it. SSX 3 kind of does it.
What, do you go for drinks up in the cabin?
Different branching paths, find different... It's just... it's interesting. I do think open world games... I think open world mechanics are overused. I would much rather have... But my problem is I don't like that all action games these days seem to be turned into open world games or games with open world elements. I would much rather have a tight... crafted level-based single-player experience than something open world, because when you get an open world game, there's always parts that have nothing to do in them. It's the old saying, it's a pool that is a mile wide but an inch deep. There's lots to walk around and see and try to find, but there's just not a whole lot to do with it. And I get real bored with open world games. I can't focus. I get off the beaten path, and I just don't like them. It's funny that you mentioned Burnout Paradise and the later SSX games, because I actually love Burnout Paradise, and SSX 3 is my favorite of the SSX series. Burnout Paradise, it can be a pain in the ass driving from spot to spot sometimes, but I really enjoyed just exploring the Burnout Paradise world, breaking all of the billboards, doing all that small side goal stuff that was available specifically because of the open world. But I know that's a controversial opinion. SSX 3, I think, it's one of my favorite games ever, and I really like it. I thought it was fun to kind of start at the top of a mountain and choose your path down the mountain and hit up some events on the way and stuff like that. They also allowed you to once you encountered what's the word I'm looking for? An event, you could fast travel to those events to replay them. So it's not like you have to, spend 5 minutes going from place to place.
This is from Hunter.
Hey, Pat. Hunter from Ohio. I'm curious what your guys' favorite albums are.
I think he said album covers. Favorite album covers?
Album covers.
What one was the Beatles were murdering babies? The one that's rare. Remember that one? They're dolls. They're all bloodied up.
I think I don't know.
I have to think about album covers.
I'd have to think about album covers.
Think about album covers, to be honest.
Call back and leave that message again clearly to make sure that that's what we thought you were saying, and I'll have something ready next time.
This is from Brad.
Hey guys, this is Brad from Muskegon, Michigan. My question is more for Pat. I know you've been saying you've been working on Nintendo 64 book. What is your plans, I guess, beyond that? Are you planning on doing maybe GameCube or maybe more mobile? Maybe doing the
mobile
Game Boy games, reviewing those. Just wanted to get an idea of what your plans are after the Nintendo 64 book.
He wants to cut me off with the pass. I don't know. I don't like thinking about the next book afterwards. I struggled whether or not to do N64 or Game Boy, and decided N64 because I am still unsure about there being a viable market for a Game Boy book. There might be, but I know there definitely is one for the N64 that's probably bigger. So I decided to do that, which I now regret because it's probably the hardest console to do a book about due to the tough emulation involved and other factors. I don't know. If I do another book, I don't know. It might be more logical to do the GameCube. It'll be easier than doing the N64 book. The emulation is actually a lot better. But Game Boy is interesting, and it goes back to the more retro thing that I like. I don't know a huge amount about the N64. I'm learning as the writers are are doing it, and I'm learning about some of these games. But Game Boy would be nice to go back to that. But again, I don't know. We'll see. It would just be Game Boy Black and White though. It wouldn't be both. It'd be too big of a book to do Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Maybe I can rope Ian in and do some Game Boy reviews if I do Game Boy.
Maybe
Get you and your crowd, you and your brethren,
maybe
to do that.
Oh, by the way, because I don't like to not answer a question that was asked, I have come up with some album covers. 36 Seasons by Ghostface Killer is a great album cover, and I like all the album art for Health albums.
Okay.
Hey guys, 2 consoles too late here. Couple quick questions. Ian, what is up with uncured pepperoni and buffalo? And Pat, what is your camera setup for Flea Market Madness? Love the show.
Uncured pepperoni is a thing?
So, yes, very common. Uncured like if you go and buy like those little cheese and cracker plates, it's almost always uncured pepperoni.
Oh, is it?
So, uncured pepperoni. Buffalo pizza, the thing that really differentiates buffalo pizza from other places is the almost exclusive use of what's known as cup and char pepperoni. Cup and char pepperoni is pepperoni that I believe it's the casing or the collagen on the outside of the pepperoni. When it cooks, it shrinks on the outside, so it kind of cups, and then it gets really crispy on the edges.
Okay.
And then I don't know if this is what he's referencing, but there was during the lockdown there was a cup pepperoni shortage, the type of pepperoni that they used. So a lot of people so there were restaurants in Buffalo that started buying, instead of buying the sliced cup pepperoni that they could pop on there and have it bake up, there was like a rush on, and I believe a shortage in the area on stick pepperoni, because if you took the stick pepperoni and sliced it on a slicer, you can get the same. It would cup and char the same way.
Oh,
it's definitely different than the.
It's called cup and char. That's like the
cup and char is what Hormel refers to it as,
and it's mostly for baking.
And it's pretty much exclusively for pizza and for like I said,
gets that nice ring, and
it gets the ring, pops up a little grease in the center. It's delicious. It's so good.
God, intermittent fasting, I'm hungry.
So yeah, I know that during the lockdown there was a shortage of it, and restaurants in Buffalo had to get creative.
And then for the setup for Flea Market Madness, it's just the glasses have a little video thing. It's nothing special. I broke them though. A few years back, I broke the something on the glasses. I could probably glue it though.
Hello again, Pat and Ian. It's Blake here from Frisco, Texas, and
Frisco.
Me and my friend recently started a podcast. We're about 10 episodes in now. We talk about historical films and how historically accurate they are. We're really, really big fans of history, and I really heard that you liked the movie Glory, and I was wondering if there's any other historical films that you or maybe Ian like. And I'd love to hear about them. Thanks.
Glory's fantastic. I mean, it's almost underrated how good Glory is. Other historical movies that I like, Tora is really good. That's fantastic. That's the Pearl Harbor movie from I believe that was the 60s they made that. And that was awesome because I told it from both sides of the movie. It went back and forth. So it wasn't just like demonizing all the Japanese. It was like, well, these are real people too, and they're making decisions, and they realize, oh, we fucked up. But there was like, there's always that person that says we shouldn't do this.
Right.
We shouldn't bomb Pearl Harbor like that. Actually, there was some debate about things like that. But now that we bomb, we're kind of stuck. So that was awesome, and that went all the way through Midway, I believe. Like so that was like over like a whole year, I think, of time, or year and a half, whatever it was. Or 2 years, whatever it was. So that was that. Midway, I think, was a movie as well, but I don't remember that as much as Tora. And then Braveheart isn't. I like Braveheart, but obviously the people don't really know what the hell happened back then. It's kind of hard to know exactly what happened with William Wallace. He was a guy, but he wasn't doing all that stuff to that extent. So that's a tougher one. I'm trying to think of a World War II one. A battle one that I like. I would just say Band of Brothers again. I'd say go towards that.
You always talk about Band of
That's
Brothers.
probably the closest you're going to get, because they interviewed those guys at the end of that. They interviewed those guys are still the one guy, the main guy's still alive. He's in his like late 90s by now, from New Jersey, who's the main character in it. They all interviewed them at the end of the series. This is late 90s, so they were like by then like in their late 70s, and it's so weird. You see this series with all these guys, then it cuts to the real people that it's based upon, and it's like it's like a shot to the gut. You're like, wow. And then they start getting that misty-eyed, war cry thing. You're like, oh God, I'm gonna lose it. You start crying yourself.
Yeah,
because they're like, oh, I remember him. My friend, he died like right next to me in the foxhole or whatever. You're like, oh my God, I can't take it. But that's probably more accurate, because World War II wasn't that long ago. But you talk to the guys that were there, it wasn't glorified Band of Brothers at all. It was like, this was rough business and bad and random. Like you see, like, oh, those guys are gonna, oh no, now they're dead. Those are the guys who were following for 4 episodes. Now they're dead. Like, because that's how it was. That's how war was. You didn't know when you're gonna go. What's next here? God, I want to watch Band of Brothers. I have the DVD set, like a tin DVD set. Uncut Pepperoni. This is from Josh.
Hey, Pat and Ian, it's Josh. Quick question: have you guys ever done the podcast and had to go to the bathroom like super bad, and you thought you might piss or shit yourself? Thanks. Yes, it happened to me. I shit myself in first grade.
No, they said during the podcast.
Oh, during the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. But because the question, there's a little thing that says, "Teacher, can you go to the bathroom? May you?" But no, I'll tell the teacher story. I never have. It kind of times.
I'm pretty sure you've told this.
I'll tell it again because it was horrifying.
Anyways, yes, I generally have to pee very bad at the end of every episode.
I'll retell the story, or I crap my pants in school. Because it never happened again before or after, and it wasn't my fault. It was first grade, my Catholic grade school, and it was like you had 1A, 1B, 1C. You had 3 classes,
right?
For most, I think, before I was in 1A, and then 1C was another teacher. It was, I remember at the time, I never saw her after this year. Maybe this traumatized her. This event, she was there for about 1 year, and that was it. She was a younger blonde. Everyone looks super old when you're 6 years old. Looking back, she's probably like 25, but in my head, my memory, she was like 40. You know what I mean? You can't get ages right when you're that young.
Right.
She took over the class. I remember, I think our teacher had to go do something, had to go somewhere for something for like a half hour, 20 minutes. This teacher took over. And when a teacher takes over, everyone thinks they can get away with things and talk. Everyone started talking more. She got annoyed at all of the kids talking. In the middle of this, I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. So I'm like, excuse me, can I go to the bathroom? And she just straight up said no, like meanly. Like, and I was a nice kid. I didn't talk that much in class.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I need to go.
You're 6 years old.
Yeah.
And then it just happened. And you didn't know it was coming. It just happened.
Right.
And then the girl next to me was like, he stinks. And then it was embarrassing. And then the teacher figured out.
It smells like poo.
I think the teacher figured out I made a huge error.
Yeah.
The teacher realized it from the back of the room and then shuffled me out. She said, go to the nurse's office. And then that was my experience. And then never saw the teacher again after that year. Maybe.
Oh, really?
No, I'm serious. So maybe teaching wasn't for that woman.
Yeah, maybe they realized that was a bad idea.
I let a kid crap his pants. Thankfully, that didn't stay with me throughout, because that can ruin a kid in grade school.
Oh yeah,
enough kids. That was just like no. That was it. Was a thing.
I'm glad it didn't ruin you.
No, but anyway, sorry. What was I saying? Oh no, on the podcast. No, we usually do our nature calls before the podcast. Usually. All right, we got a couple more here.
Ciao, Pat and Ian. I am Luca from Italy. I wanted to say that I really like the podcast, and I wanted to ask both of you about the struggles you have found in writing the guidebooks. What is the hardest thing you encounter in the writing process? And also, in experience with the Patreon blog, because I'm thinking to start one to do more writing experience outside the more formal articles of the journalism course I follow. And if both of you have any advice for writing in general, thanks. Arrivederci.
Paisan, Luca. Advice for writing in general? Writing is like a tool. You have to keep doing it to keep sharp.
I think for the book, for me, I'll just say real quick, writing towards a collective style is not easy for me.
Review writing is very specific. It's you're writing nonfiction about something that's fiction. It's interesting. It's interesting because a lot of people, I think, by default, don't know how to do it well or know the style until you get into it. So we have multiple writers, and some have experience, some don't. And even a good writer, someone that is a competent writer, can say, yeah, I can write a game review, and it's hard to wrap your mind around it if you haven't done it. And to really get used to the flow of it and the style of it without falling into traps. Traps like referencing other games, for example.
Yes.
That's a big trap that happens with professionals, even on websites. They always compare games to other games. You can't do that if you're trying to have the review stand on its own. Otherwise, you got to know about the other games. It's like reviewing a movie saying, well, this movie's like Forrest Gump. Well, what is Forrest Gump like? I never saw it. You can't do that. Especially in a book that's a compendium guidebook. And yes, and there should be not an overall total consistency of style necessarily, but consistency of tone of how you're reviewing these games. You have to keep consistent across a team of writers. And that's not hard to figure out, but you have to nudge the writers in a certain direction, being, okay, you can't go this hard on this. You have to be more reasonable. You have to review in its time space. And there's also unconscious biases that come across from some writers for specific genres they don't like, where it's like, well, if you don't like the genre, you can't criticize the game because of the genre. You have to accept the genre for what it is. And that comes across more often than you think, where people are like, well, I don't like this game. Well, maybe you don't like the genre. Right. And you shouldn't be reviewing the game. And that's something that comes across as well. Like, you can't say, well, this fishing game is boring. Maybe that's how the fishing game's supposed to be. It's going to take some time to reel in a fish. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, you have to separate the two. You have to think, okay, for this genre and its time, is this a good game? Not whether or not I prefer the genre or not. Those are the biggest pitfalls that have been encountered there. It's like, and plus, making sure you really understand the game's mechanics before you jump in and play it and review it. If you don't understand the game's mechanics, you should not be criticizing the game's mechanics unless you totally understand the game's mechanics and how it should function as a competent player. That's a big one, especially for like a racing game that's not an arcade racing game. You have to understand that a sim racing game is not an arcade racing game you can just jump in and be good at. You have to learn how to play the game. You have to learn how the cars react. You have to learn how to modify your cars. So these are things that you have to make sure the writer, do you know how to play the game? Have you taken the time to play it? Have you read the instruction manual? Have you done this? Those are the pitfalls. But in terms of being a good writer, you have to write. You cannot be a stagnant writer. That it goes away like anything else. And also, to be a good writer, you have to read. You have to read a lot to be a better writer as well. A couple more here. That's my master class on video game review writing right there. I'll do a whole thing.
Hey Ian, hey Pat, Sebastian from Texas here. Just wanted to ask you guys, what would you do if, say, Pat blew both of your savings at the Atari Casino and your only option was to start selling off your respective collections? How would you guys go about doing it? What would go first, and what would you desperately try to hang on to?
I like the cadence and rhythm of that question. What would go first? What would you desperately try to hang on to?
Jesus.
Well, he's already sold a chunk of his collection.
Yeah, so it gets harder for me because I've already really narrowed down there are only like three things. I tried to say there are three things that I still collect. I collect records, collect Game Boy games, black and white mostly, but portable Game Boy games, and I collect PC Engine games. As much as I like the Game Boy, I think my Game Boy stuff would go first. It's not like it's a lot of it's worth a ton, but I do have some games that are worth $50-$60. But that's stuff that I like having the little cartridges. I love little game cartridges, like Game Boy Switch, too small. That's
too small.
Don't find them cute or anything.
You don't want
like
something
that.
you can accidentally swallow. That's too small.
But I think Game Boy cartridges in particular are just the perfect
you get
size.
nice art on it.
I love them.
You can stack them in your hands.
So that's why I collect them. Also because they were cheap,
like uncured pepperoni.
Yes, like uncured pepperoni. However, the emulation, the flash carts for portable systems seem to be pretty much rock solid in terms of what they can run. It would probably be easiest for me to
Game Boy Flash,
to do a Game Boy Flash cart, and so I could I could get that experience again. I think easiest with a Game Boy Flash cart. With CD stuff like the PC Engine, it's very difficult because you have to go and find those fairly specific ISOs. You have to go find
Which
them.
are out there. You
They're
just have
out
to hunt
there.
them down.
You have to hunt them down, or you rip them yourself for the harder games. It would be a lot more hunting. The Hue card stuff wouldn't be as big of a
Honestly,
deal, but the CD ISOs
probably a torrent for all the ISOs.
might be.
Probably.
And also, I hear that the Super System 3 works very well, but I guess it's not 100%. That's the Terra Onion one that also emulates the CD drive that you can put on the back. So, yeah, I think it'd probably be Game Boy stuff. Records would be the last to go, but I really do need to cull that collection down a little bit.
The records?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of shit in my collection that
would
I just don't need.
Now it's time-wise, would you piece it out or just sell it to a dealer and get less money, but then you get rid of it all at once?
If I had to get rid of records, a large chunk of it would be pieced out.
You take the time. That's the thing. Do you have the time to piece it out? That's the thing. I would not, obviously. A lot of the things
any record over 100, I would piece out.
So I bought a lot of stuff at the swap meet back when the days when I tell Ian, I went every Saturday and Sunday for like 2 years straight. So I call you in the morning and annoy you. But hey, Ian, you want this Snoopy thing? You're like, oh, go back. I'm sleeping. I'm like, come on, it's like 8:30. Get up.
No.
I bought a lot of stuff thinking, well, I hate my day job that I quit. I quit my day job, 2012? I quit my day job. So I bought stuff thinking, well, worst case scenario, I quit my job because it's killing me. As Ian said, made my face gray. I looked gray.
You did. You looked very gray.
I could spend time piecing this stuff out. And that's when it was on the upswing, the value on a lot of stuff. I could sell this stuff piecemeal that I pick up, some of this stuff. I didn't want it for my collection anymore. But that's a lot of time. That's a job to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a job. I have a job. I wear multiple hats. So I don't have the time to do that. So if I had to though, how desperate am I? Yes, for like the most expensive stuff, we're talking high 3 figures, 4 figure stuff. Yes, that stuff I'd probably maximize because that's a smaller amount of things. But for the bulk stuff, if a game's worth $100 and I have a lot of them, I don't care if I get $50 in cash for it. And just get rid of them all at once because the time is worth money. Time is money, and I could do that. But if I had no money, then yes, you'd have to piece it out and that'd be your job. But I don't want to picture that as being a job selling thousands of games. That seems miserable. There's so much. First of all, eBay and PayPal takes like 15% off the top right there, and then it's the time, and then you need to deal with people with the corner on this game is off. Like if you sell any boxed or sealed stuff on eBay, God bless you, because I remember even selling some stuff where it's like, oh, this is a little bit, and it's like there's asshole collectors that want to try to get free stuff from you. There's ones that'll just nitpick you to death. It happened all the time back when I did try to sell stuff here and there, that, like, we're talking 10 years ago. So that's like that. I can't picture doing that again. Any high grade stuff that I sell, the more I think about it, would not be eBay. It'd be private collectors. It would not be eBay sales. I cannot picture selling something for $2,000 on eBay and then getting into a PayPal dispute over it. I just can't.
Oh God.
I think getting potentially taken for a ride with some sort of fraud thing. You kidding me? Imagine selling a Magical Chase. Oh no, he sent me another game instead. It's like, oh, you fucking kidding me? Like, no. But you hear horror stories happen sometimes with people try to do things like that. We got one or two more. Here's one here.
Hey Pat and Ian, this is Sean from Washington. I remember you guys covered the analog digital to analog converter a while back, and I just wanted to know, do you guys still use CRT TVs or monitors? And what are your general feelings towards the technology? Thanks.
The general feeling towards CRTs, they're fine. What do you mean? They're fine. I mean, like if you have one, you have the consoles to play it, then yeah, the CRT is the way to go. Yeah, that's the way it was intended.
I feel like it's the easiest solution to a lot of these modern problems too. If you have the room in your house for a CRT TV, go get a CRT TV and hook your games up to it. What do I use? So in the living room, I have a flat screen. It's not a 4K. It's 1080p Samsung that I hook up my PC Engine to. I run it through a RetroTink SCART 2X, and it looks fantastic. But I do hook up, there are systems that I definitely hook up to the CRT TV. Almost every time I want to play something on the Wii or on the GameCube via the Wii, I hook it up on the CRT TV.
You don't go component instead?
Yeah, I don't have the component. I don't have stuff for it. It's easier for me to just hook it up directly to the CRT TV. The Saturn looks great on a CRT TV, so sometimes we'll just hook the Saturn up to the CRT TV. We do actually have a CRT and we use it. So I have things that I can use on the HD TV to make them look nice, but I do keep a CRT TV because it's easy to just plug it in, turn it on, and play. The big thing is rhythm games on the PlayStation 1. The timing gets all screwed up when you try to play it on an HD TV.
It's just off that little couple.
So if you want to play like PlayStation 1 DDR, or if you want to play the Bust a Move games, really there's no other way to do it but a CRT. The original Parappa the Rapper off a disc, you're gonna want to play that on a CRT.
It's really that more unplayable.
It's very, very bad.
Wow,
very bad. Very hard.
Even using like a retro tank and other things.
Yeah, I've never been able to play certain rhythm games properly on an HD TV.
Wow, there you go. CRTs will never die, never die. All right, that's it for this session.